Dead men tell no tales, but their ships speak volumes. Welcome to the Cursed Compass, where we explore the darkest maritime mysteries. If you walk through the thick coastal mist of Springer's Point on Ocracoke Island, local folklore says you might encounter a headless figure in 18th century clothing, endlessly searching for his missing skull. But the man behind that 300-year-old ghost story recently appeared in a very different setting, the United States Supreme Court. The discovery of his sunken flagship off the coast of North Carolina triggered Allen v. Cooper, a major intellectual property dispute over state sovereign immunity and copyright law. Edward Teach, the man we know as Blackbeard, operated as a pirate for less than 2 years, yet he generated enough cultural impact to spawn centuries of myth and shape modern legal precedent. Historically, Teach was neither the wealthiest pirate of his era nor the most bloodthirsty. Pirates like Bartholomew Roberts stole an estimated 5 times as much, and others left far higher body counts in their wake. His disproportionate historical footprint is the result of a highly calculated business model. He relied on psychological terror to minimize actual violence and exploited legal loopholes to protect his profits. To understand his strategy, look at the geography. Major European shipping lanes and trade winds funneled directly through the Florida Strait. Following the Treaty of Utrecht, thousands of unemployed British privateers converged here, creating a massive, desperate floating population. In 1716, Edward Teach arrived in New Providence and joined Captain Benjamin Hornigold, an established pirate operating in the island's safe waters. Hornigold operated under a severe tactical limitation. As a former British privateer, he retained his old national loyalties and refused to attack British vessels, only targeting old enemies like the French and Spanish. Teach recognized the economic flaw in this model. Watching heavily laden British merchant ships sail past unharmed was bad business for a crew demanding a share of the profits. By late 1717, Hornigold had been demoted by his crew and retired. Teach took command, scaling his operations by capturing independent sloops and taking control of the Revenge, a ship owned by the wealthy pirate Stede Bonnet. Teach's true innovation was recognizing piracy as a strictly amoral, profit-driven economic enterprise, completely divorced from nationalistic loyalties. In November 1717, Teach's fleet captured a massive French slave ship called La Concorde. He converted the vessel for his own use, equipped it with 40 guns, and renamed it the Queen Anne's Revenge. Commanding a ship that size required a leader who could project absolute authority. Teach braided his thick black beard, strapped pistols across his chest, tied hemp matches under his hat to weathe his face in smoke. Economist Peter Leeson describes this behavior through the lens of rational choice theory. The pirate brand is an economic asset. Cultivating a terrifying, demonic reputation was a specific strategy designed to force immediate surrender. Fighting risks damaging the prize ship and losing crew members. The optimal outcome is yielding without a single shot fired. The strategy worked perfectly. In the historical record, there are no verified accounts of Teach harming a single captive prior to his final battle. The ultimate test of this psychological warfare came in May 1718, when his flotilla blockaded the port of Charlestown, South Carolina. He anchored at the harbor entrance and stopped every ship trying to pass. After taking several prominent citizens prisoner, Teach issued his ransom demand. He did not ask for gold or silver. He required a chest of specific medical supplies to treat his crew. When the town delivered the drugs, he released the prisoners unharmed. Teach weaponized his reputation to preserve his own crew, protect enemy vessels, and secure valuable cargo with maximum economic efficiency. Knowing British warships were hunting pirates, Teach moved his fleet north along the Atlantic coast. On June 10, 1718, the route ended at Beaufort Inlet, where the Queen Anne's Revenge ran hard aground on a shallow sandbar. Historical analysis suggests this was not a navigation error. Depositions indicate Teach intentionally wrecked the ships as a form of corporate downsizing, stranding over 200 men to increase his own share of the remaining loot. He also needed to shed the Queen Anne's Revenge. A 40-gun warship anchored off the coast drew immediate attention, making it a liability. Teach then actively utilized the 1717 Acts of Grace, a royal proclamation offering a pardon to any pirate who surrendered. By accepting the king's pardon, he effectively cleared his legal record. He settled in Bath, North Carolina, establishing a corrupt symbiosis with the local authorities. He befriended Governor Charles Eden and the colonial secretary, Tobias Knight. When Teach returned to sea and captured a French vessel loaded with sugar, he didn't sell it on the black market. He brought it to Bath, where Knight convened a vice admiralty court. They officially declared the ship derelict found at sea, legally awarding the cargo to Teach, Eden, and Knight. Teach had successfully transitioned from an outlaw to a protected political operator. By mastering the art of jurisdictional arbitrage, he used the legal system itself to shield his stolen wealth. This arrangement frustrated neighboring colonies. Alexander Spotswood, the governor of Virginia, viewed North Carolina's government with contempt and feared retired freebooters would disrupt Virginian commerce. Spotswood personally financed an operation to eliminate Teach, sending armed forces across the border. He had no legal authority to order an invasion of North Carolina, entirely circumventing Governor Eden's jurisdiction. On the morning of November 22, 1718, a British naval detachment led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard cornered Teach at his favorite anchorage inside Ocracoke Inlet. This tactical map shows Maynard's two commandeered, shallow-draft sloops moving down the narrow channel to block Teach's exit. Teach faced a severe tactical disadvantage. Caught off guard after a night of entertaining guests, his remaining crew had been reduced to roughly 20 men. As the British ships closed in, Teach maneuvered his vessel and unleashed a devastating broadside. The blast of cannon fire crippled one of Maynard's sloops, killing or wounding a third of the attacking force in seconds. Maynard survived by employing a crucial countertactic. He ordered the majority of his remaining men to hide below deck, baiting Teach into boarding what looked like an empty ship. As soon as the pirates crossed over, the British sailors swarmed from the hold. A brutal hand-to-hand fight ensued across the deck. Teach's physical dominance was finally overwhelmed by superior numbers and military training, resulting in 5 gunshot wounds, 20 cutlass gashes, and his ultimate decapitation. Teach's carefully managed risk model had worked flawlessly against merchant captains and local courts. It only failed when an opponent was willing to break jurisdictional law entirely to eliminate him. In the immediate legal fallout, 15 of Teach's surviving crew members were tried and hanged in Williamsburg. Governor Spotswood then launched a political campaign to legitimize his illegal invasion by smearing the North Carolina administration as pirate accomplices. Just 6 years later, Captain Charles Johnson published a highly sensationalized account of the battle. This text cemented the romanticized archetypal image of the pirate in the global consciousness. That published myth eventually merged with the isolated oral traditions of the Outer Banks. On barrier islands constantly battered by hurricanes and cut off from the mainland, the geography itself bred superstition. Frequent maritime tragedies, like the wreck of the steamboat Home, which left 90 bodies in shallow graves along the beach, kept the reality of death at the forefront of island life. The legend of Springer's Point persists because it matches the island's lived history. For generations, Ocracokers lived alongside the graveyard of the Atlantic, walking the same dunes where they buried shipwreck victims. In this environment of recurring maritime disaster, a restless, headless captain transitioned from a contemporary news report to a permanent fixture of local memory. Edward Teach was killed in 1718, but the brand he built, a combination of calculated terror and legal manipulation, became the definitive blueprint for the pirate archetype. Even today, 3 centuries later, his business decisions and his sunken property are still being litigated in the highest court in the land.